Hey everybody, it's Will at VIP Mortgage, and it's time for your local lender update. Rates stayed pretty close to unchanged the last week. The bond market was headed in the wrong direction very slightly, but kind of held steady with the pattern we saw the week before, which was a little bit worse than the improvements we saw before the Fed cut. This week, what we're watching is the government shutdown because, like I said last week, one of the things we're really trying to figure out is how good or bad is the economy. First quarter numbers looked pretty bad. Second quarter numbers initially looked better, but as we get those additional revisions, it looks even stronger as far as a GDP number goes, as far as wage growth and things like that, although simultaneously the job numbers are getting worse. And that's the big thing this week. If the government shuts down, we won't get the new job numbers. We know this because this is not the first time that there's been a possibility of a government shutdown, and the last time they came up with a policy that said if the government shuts down, they're just not going to release that data. So the markets work on expectations, and if they're not getting data, they're kind of flying blind, and that could lead to a little bit more bumpiness going forward here. Just to reflect back a little bit more on the Fed cuts, the Fed, of course, did cut rates in response. The market went up slightly after that. The mortgage rates went up, I should say. And that's because when the Fed cuts rates, they're not cutting mortgage rates. The Fed also said they expect to cut 2 more times this year, both of those being smaller cuts. And I think that's kind of already priced into the market, barring new information. Right? Jobs data has been a huge driver, partially because we've discovered that so much of that data was just flatly wrong. And then inflation, of course, being another big piece of that pie. GDP, wage growth, building, construction, investment, all of these kinds of things factor into what does it cost to borrow money. Last week, we got good consumer spending numbers, and 70% of the economy is consumer spending. So it looks like we're seeing sustained strength, even though we're getting spotty data where some of the data looks good, some of it doesn't. One of the things that I really wonder about too is these job numbers. I'm old enough to remember where 5% unemployment was full employment, and we've been at 4% or better really since the bounce back since COVID. So it's kind of a relative thing. And I wonder how much we're making a big deal out of an abnormal statistic in our market. So that's what we're looking at going forward. We'll keep you up to speed. If there's anything I can do for you, give me a call, 719-232-7553.